Good morning.
What's up? What's up from not so sunny yet Los Angeles?
Good evening from straight from Dubai. Look how international we are in different places.
Now back in Denver. Was in Miami for a good week, which was great, but back to the cold. Here we are. So it's been a good week. We had a lot of interesting things happen. Woke up one morning and 12 of our NFTs sold, so that was pretty cool. And then we're just big and famous and just raking in the dough now as Ethereum keeps going up in price. I mean, down in price maybe. Yeah. Either way.
But just realize that people are just paying to get a picture of us, right? Or illustration of us. That's, I don't know.
It's amazing opportunity.
We're very good looking, so it makes sense. I would expect more people to buy. I was a little shocked that only 12. It's just kind of a big deal. But
if I recommend people buy it now because the Ethereum went down. So if people are smart, just buy it now.
Buy the drop.
Soon it'll go up.
Yeah. So anything exciting going on other than Michael? Where are you at today? You're at a conference going on.
Yeah, Los Angeles, a hotel investment conference called Alice. So it kicks off in a few hours. It's still rather early over here, but looking forward to it.
Right on. It's a little early for what? Are you normally in Eastern time or Central?
Central.
Okay. Well, it's only 2 hours, so you'll be fine. It's like having a newborn baby. You just wake up early, out of your control that you don't have. So,
yeah. How do you know, Bill? Come on, you're the only one without kids.
Hey, I got 11 nieces and nephews. I raised those, mother effer. All good. Okay, so before we get too distracted and off track, we have a couple exciting things. So we do have sub-sponsors from the NFT purchase, and then we are dropping a new one. But then we also have a couple segments to hit for What's With the Noise, as well as Startup of the Week. And so if we're ready, I think we'll go with the Startup of the Week. We'll have Michael Golden close us out with What's With the Noise, and then bring on our guest today because we're going to go into investing after a post-Airbnb IPO as the topic. So it's going to be really good. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Good morning. The start of the week is Spark, and why I select them because actually last Tuesday, I was moderating the startup competition of the World Tourism Forum. It was amazing. Also on Wednesday, I was speaking on stage. There was amazing competition of 12 startups in the travel space and tourism space. Spark was one of the winners, and they actually disrupting the way of valet parking. So they're really automating the way you can actually book valet parking, also making this whole process more easier and seamless and increasing the customer experience. So the guys at Spark, well done, actually, and amazing, nice guys, perfect pitch. So I think a bright future in front of them. So congrats again. So it was amazing to see actually the disrupting in the startups, a lot of impact startups there as well. So also the organization of the World Tourism Forum, well done. Later this week as well, I'm doing something else. I'm going to speak about here in Dubai, in the Emirates Academy, owned by Jumeirah. I'm going to speak about the OTA landscape. So always nice to share a bit my insights and just make the other OTAs a bit less good. Thank you.
So this past week, we saw our second short-term rental operator IPO in the past 60 days. So this is a really good sign for the short-term rental folks looking and trying to figure out how to get an exit. There's a couple of proof points that you can follow, and hopefully the market can rebound. It's been a tough week for everybody, but congrats to Sonder and Picasa as well. But Sonder's IPO debuted last week, and it's held pretty steady.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how many more are going to pop up, or at least work towards that direction of IPO.
It plays perfectly into the topic of today because Airbnb led the way of IPOing about 13 months ago. And since then, there's just been an absolute enormous flood of capital into short-term rentals, especially travel more broadly, but short-term rentals in particular. Sure. And there's a number of raises that are not yet public that are pretty massive that'll be out soon. So I will welcome Justin today. Justin.
I do have to say, actually, we'll let you introduce Justin, and then we do have to get to a quick sponsor message before we bring on our awesome guest. But go ahead, you can do the introduction.
Let's just cut to it.
Cut to it.
The sponsor.
Okay. We'll hit the sponsor first, then we'll welcome Justin.
All right.
Meet Breezeway, the leading platform for property care and cleaning operations. Built to coordinate, communicate, and verify all the work done at each property so you can deliver a better experience to guests and owners. Breezeway syncs your property data and reservations into one user-friendly dashboard, taking the guesswork out of scheduling jobs to the right person at the right time. Teams in the field use mobile checklists to get their work done, letting you monitor issues and progress in real time, giving you confidence that every job is done right and every property is clean, well-maintained, and ready. Smart tools to make complex work much easier. Best of all, Breezeway integrates with dozens of PMS systems and IoT devices, so you can optimize your property service programs without switching the systems you already use. Nice. Breezeway has an entire messaging platform too, for texting automated service updates, communicating with guests and residents, and offering additional services like extended stays. Delivering quality property care and service is challenging. Breezeway has you covered each step of the way with tools like detailed owner reporting, safety inspections, and inventory tracking. You'll drive more service revenue, save thousands on operation costs, and boost client satisfaction. It's time to power your property care with Breezeway. Go to breezeway.io to learn more.
breezeway.io/GMH. Now you can introduce our awesome guest.
All right. So without further ado, Justin was number 13 at Airbnb, and he lives by a motto of just say yes. So looking forward to diving in what that means.
So just say yes. Is that why he joined the podcast? Is because he's like, I'll just say yes.
Ask him. Bring him on.
Let's welcome our awesome guest, Justin. Welcome, Justin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Good morning. How are y'all?
Good morning. We are good. How's Miami? Is it sunshiny and super warm, or?
It's sunshiny. It's a bit cold. I had to bring the flowers in.
I know iguanas falling out of trees.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Iguanas are falling. I almost had a fit walking the dogs last night. I got 3 layers on. I'm still freezing. So I'm one of those guys now, I guess.
You're from Chicago.
You don't have a kimono. You don't have a kimono or something which you can put on to be warm.
Yeah. I'll do the bear suit, you know. But yeah, I guess I lost that. That Chicago bit about me. I'm soft now down here. But yeah, it's great. Been here for about a year and just still soaking it all in.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us on the show. It's a rare opportunity to get employee number 13 at Airbnb to get to join us. That now that you're so big, compared to where we are with Good Morning Hospitality. So it's a great honor to have you on. And I know we're going to to your story. So give us a little bit of background, just kind of maybe a little bit of, when joining Airbnb, what were you expecting? Did you think it was going to be such a big company to where you are today after the IPO and kind of your current adventures?
Yeah, for sure. And first thing, I just want to thank Breezeway, our sponsor here as well, for the great suite of services that they provide. And the help that they have here for Good Morning Hospitality. So my story without droning on too much, it was really one of those sort of by chance things, right? Where a friend of a friend had this opportunity for this crazy company that was, letting strangers rent other strangers' homes, which even now it still seems like just kind of completely off base, but yeah, the just say yes mantra that I've tried to have, both personally and professionally, right, and living this life is just kind of take these opportunities as they come, and yeah, started doing work, nights and weekends in addition to my full-time job. I was in downtown Chicago at the time, and just trying to really kind of figure out where I was leading, in terms of my professional career, and this opportunity, and it turned into calling hosts very early on and trying to get them to accept their pending reservation requests, right, just right off a spreadsheet Brian would send to myself and my good friend and former colleague, and eventually turned into something full time. I started working remotely, doing customer support and community growth out of Asia, just kind of globetrotting around the world, kind of living that dream, right? And eventually led a lot of things there at Airbnb. Stayed around 10 years or so, until we eventually cracked the bottle on the hole and saw it go to IPO after a crazy 6 to 12 months prior with COVID, right, where it was one of these things. And we're seeing now with Vacasa and Sonder, in their IPOs, relatively successful. At least they got them out the door, but at a point it was almost unsure if Airbnb was going to even survive COVID, and we had to do quite a bit of things in terms of workforce and taking some hard loans from some private equity banker types, right, just to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But Brian, again, all credit to him and the executive team for kind of just leading us out of the dark and to where we are now.
Awesome.
Well, we want to get into some of the good stories, Justin. What's a story about Brian that your average person doesn't know?
So Brian, he's interesting, right? He's a little bit different than your prototypical Bay Area, Silicon Valley tech startup founder guy. So I think he's from upstate New York, right? He played hockey, and he actually was a former bodybuilder. And so there's some pictures online. He's probably tried to scrub them from the internet, right? Because he's all oiled up.
Yeah.
He did competitions, right, at one point. And so he had a spare fridge in the office that was strictly for muscle milk. And so it was just constantly getting refilled with muscle milk. That's like a running joke. And he would actually, in his pursuit of protein, and I don't know, this is the funny story, and it sort of became one of these things that's been passed down, but that he would actually keep a pocket steak is what it was called, so that throughout the day, in between meals, right, he would have this, in plastic. It wasn't just grease dripping into his pants. He would have a steak with him throughout the day to just sort of munch, like a Snickers bar or something, when he felt like his levels were getting too low. So his physique,
not enough protein in the system.
Yeah, exactly. He needs more protein. But yeah, he's maintained that. I don't think he's doing the professional weightlifting still on the competition circuit. Obviously he's got a lot of time in the office, but he's still a strong dude, a very strong skater as well.
So you see some of the pictures on the press releases, especially now that he's going to be traveling in Airbnbs for 2 weeks at a time and working remote and doing all this stuff. He still looks pretty jacked. He's got some, he's wearing those tight shirts where he looks pretty ripped. So it's all right, Brian. I see you. Coming in clutch.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
What do you think is one of the most important things that actually of the success of Airbnb? Some people say, okay, it was the Greg list, and they saw this huge growth when they started posting there. What do you think was in the early stage actually what made the big difference in the success of Airbnb?
Yeah, I think early on it was, in any successful company, especially to the level of success at Airbnb, was able to achieve, it really does require strong leadership, right? And you hear that, and it's sort of just becomes a mantra, right? It's hard to pinpoint exactly what that is, but seeing Brian and going to kind of working back from the COVID time, right, where everything that he had built, and Brian and Joe as well, and everything that they had built had a chance of crashing down, but he refused. He maintained the vision. He maintained, his positivity, and just like a steadfastness. I think that was really that you look to, right, when the ship is sinking and people are looking at the captain, right, and his sort of demeanor, I think, kind of tells the story, and it kind of informs the others, how they need to be acting. And so I think there was multiple times throughout, especially the 10 years, and even I joined in 2010, right? There was quite a bit of, they called it the trough of sorrow, right, through 2008, where they would have a blip, and something would be working, and they would get some traction on some things, and then immediately they would go back down in terms of their revenue and their user and growth and everything. So just the ability to, and I think it almost kind of comes from his, the upstate New York upbringing, right? He's just got this sort of bullheaded mentality that oftentimes I would question too, right? I'm working on things, and he would have some proclamations, and I was on the short-term rental, sort of vacation rental team as well, and there was a lot of back and forth whether we wanted to work with professionals, right, at Airbnb, and eventually we sort of kind of blazed this path that allowed the company to continue to grow, continue to hire, continue to find more sort of verticals throughout. Not only people staying in strangers' homes in urban markets, but also in vacation rental towns off the beaten path, and everything that has actually served us very well in a post-COVID world too.
But you do some investments, right, Justin? So then you're looking also focusing on the founding team, I think is one of the most important ingredients for being successful. Or you're doing some investments. Do you particularly look at the space, or do you looking really at the founding team? Or what is for you always important if you do an investment now?
Yeah, so for me, and I'm early in my investing career as well, so I'm still learning in terms of what makes a great company, and I haven't had any exits yet, apart from Airbnb, I guess, in my portfolio. But again, early on.
I heard that was a good one though, right?
That worked out well. That was a good use of my time, I suppose, for 10 years. I could have been, putzing around on a lot of other stuff. But for me, the founding team, yes, extremely important, right? And I mean, you hear that a lot, right? With larger funds, that they say that they don't invest in companies, right? They invest in founders. And so it's when you have this kind of, you find these type of individuals that are very special, right? It's almost like they can do anything, right? And they can be successful in whatever path that they choose. And so to find these people that have this type of mentality, this always win mentality, I think is huge. And separately from that too, it's for me, more on the due diligence is kind of, I try to understand what is the tech that's involved, right? That's people can come up with all these kind of crazy ideas, right? But what is that aspect that makes it something special? Somebody's going to make people's lives easier. Someone's going to be able to make people more money, or do things more effectively, right? And the technology that they're building around that, coupled with that founder vision, I think that's really where you try to get the two data points for a successful company.
I mean, I think if anything, if Airbnb taught us anything, it's that branding can get you so far. Like Airbnb's tech, I don't know it from the inside, but I can't imagine it's any better or worse than Expedia or Booking. But the branding that Airbnb was able to pull off.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure some of the viewers are familiar with the Airbnb platform, as well as some of the other, PMS and the softwares. Airbnb still has a ton of ways to go in terms of that, right? But to your point, yeah, absolutely, the branding has been able to, it became a verb, right? And now in a verb, I'm going to go Airbnb, and Airbnb my place, right? Which is crazy. And again, that was going back to I mean, I remember slides from like 2012, and it sounds kind of like the HBO show, right? But it would be like Apple, Nike, Airbnb.
Well, you should look at this first pitch deck, right? This Air Bed and Breakfast. Search for the first pitch deck of Airbnb. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah,
think there they need some branding. After this, it did quite well.
Were you there during the Obama O's, Justin?
No, that predated me just a bit. That was during one of their trough of sorrow times that I discussed, right? Where they were like, trying to figure, I think they were like maxing their credit cards out. I mean, they were renting their apartment that was also serving as their headquarters, right? The Rouse Street, San Francisco apartment where it all kind of got started. And it's funny now because Brian, when you mentioned the tweet, right, where he's living on Airbnb. Now, he did this in 2012. People don't remember this.
Yeah.
He actually did this in 2012, not as a branding exercise, but actually because physically they needed to make his room into like an engineering office for people to actually do work. So he was forced out at that point. Funny enough, but yeah, it worked then, and it's gonna work now, I think, too. So yeah.
What do you think the biggest implications post IPO are? Like legitimacy of the segment as a whole, freeing up capital, driving a lot of institutional investors in the space, really creating its own subcategory. Like Fundrise has been buying multifamily buildings, but last week we talked about there's 4 or 5 companies doing a Fundrise version of just vacation rentals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the model has been for sure validated in terms of a market fit. I think after COVID, people were asking the question, is travel dead? Right? One of those things where are people going to want to leave their house? And I think overwhelmingly, and we see it now, of course, right? It's like, yes, this is something that, it's one of these sort of basic human elements where it's like, yes, I need to get out. I need to go somewhere. And whether that's trotting around in a city, staying in someone's apartment, or, booking a Hilton, or you're going off to, a ski chalet or something like that, right? It can be anywhere, doing anything. But that people crave that experience too. And so in the ever never ending search for yield for some of these institutional investor types, right, they're seeing this as an opportunity where these spaces can be leveraged in a different way, can be tweaked, can apply a certain level of technology, right, that allows them to kind of be utilized in a different way. And I think that especially after COVID, right, which was, I mean, I feel like the ultimate test, at this point, just going to continue to grow, and then continue to kind of find new models and new ways to effectively, let people do short-term rentals, whether it's on the supply or the demand side.
Yeah.
Is there something you would do differently if you look back at the years? Is okay if they said, okay, Justin, you're going to be a new CEO after Brian decided in 2012 to quit, and it's like, okay, you're going to be a new one. What would you do differently?
Well, I found myself every time I maybe, butted heads, ideologically with Brian, right? I'm a kind of a more of a pro business guy, right? If I can say, and so a lot of the decisions I felt like maybe were not in that spirit. As it turns out, over the long term, they were the right decisions. That's why he is the CEO. That's why he is, got a lot more zeros in his bank account than I do, which is fine. But I think for me, and just because I was always working more on the supply side, on the host side, right, and I was hearing these stories, and I was, very close, intimately working with a lot of these individuals' businesses too, right, is I would have maybe, and still have an opportunity to kind of make more concessions to the host, right, to the actual operators, to the businesses that are doing the work, that are ultimately, I mean, it's simple in its core. You just have to have the home, make it happy, people have a nice day, and then you clean it, you flip it, and then you allow it to be rented for the next guest. And so it's simple. There's a ton that goes into it. Obviously, I was a host on Airbnb for a while, so I changed bed sheets and scrubbed and mopped the toilets and all this and that, right? But I think as much work as the hosts and the owners and the operators do, I feel like we can definitely do more for them, and just in terms of building different technology or just making different decisions with them in mind. I think, and you saw it in COVID too, where a lot of these things were refunded, right? The guests were refunded, but ultimately that came out of the pocket of the hosts. And I felt like there was definitely some mistakes made around that.
Yeah, I was gonna say not to go into that topic, but it's more or less of, I was gonna ask you about branding and how that kind of decision really impacted the brand, in the sense of, Airbnb is a verb. Everyone says I'm staying in an Airbnb, or I have an Airbnb, whatever it may be. But in that long-term run, it was a devastating point. Like, a lot of hosts and property managers were like, what the, I just lost all control of my business, in the sense of, can I reschedule guests instead of refunding and all this other stuff, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, it's very, very interesting, and just it's cool to hear from like the inside's perspective, as you, like, that's not just like a decision that wasn't brought up or thought about in the long run.
So, as an investor now, Justin.
Yeah.
First of all, how many pitches have you heard that say we are the Airbnb of? And secondly, what is the next Airbnb? What segment?
I have a follow-up after that too. So just so that way.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, the Airbnb of, the Uber of, or the X of, I feel like is definitely a bit of a played out, elevator pitch that people are still kind of, going to the well for that. But, it makes sense, right? And it's, if you want something that's, bite-sized, easily digestible, I think that makes sense. In terms of, there's a lot going on. I'm not the most technically savvy, but I feel like, and not to use a buzzword, please forgive me, but this idea of the metaverse, right? What does that mean? I still don't really know.
You should have watched our show 2 weeks ago. We had a guy come on, Luca, come and explain it all to us.
All right, I'll plug that in next. But how does that affect travel? Yeah. Right? And is it going to be one of those things that ultimately, is like the travel killer, where people are just going to strap on the Oculus, and from there they can go to Venice, and they can go to South America, and they can do? I don't think so. I think that the human experience, again, is one of those things that it's almost impossible to replicate. But somehow folding it into the overall experience, right? I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity to give people, the chance to maybe, take a preview, even something simple like that, right? Like, the Matterport with the cameras, right? Maybe kind of incorporating some of that into your kind of search phase, right? Where you're looking at homes or something like that. Doesn't seem like too far of a gap for me right now. As opposed to like the dystopian, just sitting in the corner of your room, just like, I don't know what you're doing, just like smelling, the forests, and now I'm here, and I don't think that's maybe
you're going with like bath salts or something, since you live in Florida.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more on brand out here for sure.
Well, I have a quick question, in the sense of, for your, so you're in a venture fund now. You're going into the investment side of not being an operator or an employee. You're really going to be looking for the next Airbnb, quote unquote, of whatever segment or business. But are you guys only looking at the short-term rental and hospitality space and travel in general, or are you guys really looking outside of any other sector that might be up and coming?
Yeah. Right now, for me, and the fund is very new. And so employee one of one right now, which is exciting.
Yeah, really exciting.
But I think, yeah, it's but I think kind of leveraging my experience in travel and hospitality, right? It's something that I can, I can grasp, I can wrap my head around it. So it's something I feel comfortable investing in. Marketplaces, the two-sided marketplace, right? The light bulb for me with Airbnb was when I realized you could actually rent out your extra bedroom and make money, and you could get a direct deposit in your bank account, right? It was like, it became very real to me then, and that's something I think that can apply across different verticals, right? Not only travel, but then just a lot of kind of consumer tech stuff too, right? Again, things that are like beyond me are the machine learning, AI, rocket science type stuff, biotech. Let the real brainiacs figure that out. And I'll just kind of hover around in this travel hospitality sector, and maybe take a couple valences off of that. But I think
your
that's
favorite investment to date.
So
I think I know the
yes,
answer.
one that you actually again, this was a just say yes moment for me, right? Where Michael invited me to an early breakfast out. He was visiting South Beach, and it had been a while since we had crossed paths in person, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come out and have a breakfast and a coffee with you. And you told me about this company, Lifehouse, right, which I had been familiar with previously. That there was an opportunity to invest, and the team that was going to be leading the new investment, right? Which I don't know if I think they're public, right?
Yeah.
Former Thayer guys, and now Derive, which is just a couple of really smart dudes, very, very, intimately knowledgeable about the travel and hospitality sector. And what they're doing at Lifehouse, right? It's beyond just this branded hotel. That sounds great, but it's the back end. It's the technology that they built that allows them to. And when you see the numbers, right? Again, I'm not a banker, I'm not a math guy, but just almost overnight when they kind of start to utilize this technology at these relatively underperforming hotel units, it's insane, right? And so it's that for me is very easy to understand. Everything from food and beverage to bookings to that whole side of things that people don't see, right? They're adding a ton of value on that. The team is super sharp, and yeah, I was able to get in with Tiger and Booking.com as some other investors as well. So that gave me a little bit of validation, at least, right? That
Sure.
Smarter people than me had looked at this and kind of given it the stamp.
That's awesome. Well,
if we look at the predictions we did, one of the predictions that the Airbnb is offering a subscription this year, so for the guest. So I still think it's going to happen in 2022. What do you think? They will do it?
I mean, I think I don't know. I was asking for gift cards, I feel like, for like 5 years before they rolled them out. And it was always like something with legal or something. I'm like, dude, how does all these companies have gift cards in Walgreens and CVS and just on the thing, and Airbnb can't. So we did that. The thing that we've been trying to get internally was pushing, and again, I was more on the host side, but is maybe like a subscription or like a frequent flyer type of program, right? I mean, these hotels have these, these massive programs, right? That really, it makes people very brand allegiant. Yeah, exactly. And so, the fact that we don't have something to kind of encourage people to use Airbnb, to stay Airbnb, to if stay 10 nights, get the 10 night free or something, right? Simple stuff like that. I feel like is a huge gap, and it allows the brand to continue to grow too, right? Like I'm a Bonvoy guy on Marriott now. Don't tell Brian, but It's like I just go to the Bonvoy app. I'm like, what hotels are around?
Should be a
am I
Lifehouse
staying?
guy now, Justin.
I'm a
Should be
Lifehouse guy now. Shoot.
You can be both. It's okay.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. We're still adding supply in some markets with Lifehouse, but yeah, I think that that's something that I believe is on their roadmap. But things change quickly at Airbnb, as I know.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Golden. You look like you have a question.
Well, yeah, I'm ready. We transition into, do we want to do whose brand, or do we want to go into rapid fire first?
Let's do rapid fire, and then we'll do whose brand is it anyway.
All right, I'll lead the way on the rapid fire. All right, Justin, it's just one word answers. We'll hit you with a slew of questions, and we'll just go around the horn.
All right.
When's the last time you booked on Airbnb?
Last time I booked on Airbnb, I was in Dalston in London in November. Lovely little spot up there. Yes, it's local. It's cool, man. It's like, you get to really experience it. I got the local Indonesian coffee down the road.
That was
on Verbo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was an Airbnb booking, so enjoyed that stay.
When's the last time you booked on Verbo?
Verbo? I've never booked on Verbo.
All right. Cocktail or beer?
Oh my God. Well, I'm a seasonal guy, so it depends. If I'm out on the boat, obviously throw me a cold one. If I'm at a dinner or something, they have all these nice cocktails. Maybe I'll try one of those or something like that. I think if I had to pick, beer.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
All right, my brain's a little slow this morning.
Tacos or pizza?
Ooh, tacos.
Okay.
I'm a Texas guy at my core, so I love tacos.
More fun.
Miami or San Francisco?
Miami, 100%.
Castles or design hotels?
Oh, castles. You know that.
Audi or Porsche?
Oh, God,
Porsche.
that's funny.
Porsche.
Porsche is like the classic, like all driving car, but I've been poking my head around and looking at some of these used R8s, right? The Audi like supercar. You can get one for like 80 or 90. They're not hard. They're not out of the range. I feel like, I'm gonna have to ask my parents for some money probably. Take out an expensive loan, but it's got like a Lamborghini motor, which is cool. And my fiance drives an Audi as well, so we're kind of like an Audi gang here at home, I would have to say.
Podcast or YouTube?
Podcast, 100%. I don't even watch YouTube links when people send them. Honestly, I can't.
Awesome, good answer.
Early stage or late stage? What was more fun at Airbnb?
Well, early stage was way more fun. Thankfully, I joined after they had secured some funding as well. So we were out of the Trough of Sorrow and we were just kind of running around, very close-knit group, made some lifelong friends there. And someone like me was able to come in and kind of just, run amok, right? And start building teams and launching initiatives and stuff like that too, where, if I'd have tried that, now, people might have been like, who are you? Why are you coming in? So I would say early stage, but if you go earlier than that and there's no money in the bank, then it becomes a bit scarier if you're not getting paid. So that's the one caveat.
Favorite country you visited?
Favorite country?
One word, rapid fire.
Netherlands.
Where?
Good answer.
Big or small wedding?
Traditional.
Was traditional.
Big or small?
Oh, wait, what were my choices?
Big or a small
Big
wedding?
or
I'm going to go middle. How about that?
Okay.
You're a contrarian, aren't you, Justin?
No. I'm just like a follow the road, run of the mill, Don't get out of line.
I've got
Midwestern
one
guy.
more. Do you gonna buy our NFT?
Yes.
What's the favorite thing you've said yes to?
Good question.
Well, that breakfast was great, Michael. Again, thank you for inviting me. I think, without going too far off course, it was the beginning, right? The Airbnb, right? Just say yes to making these weird calls on Saturday and Sunday when I had no idea what I was even doing, or what he would even turn into. And obviously that was definitely one of those moments in time that you just kind of look back and say, wow, that really was a fork in the road.
There's probably a new yes opportunity coming in for you. I heard of this, really cool media startup company that's in the podcast hospitality space. I'll have to tell you all about them. They're really great, but
I'm excited to hear, Will. Yeah, let's connect offline on that.
Well, we do have a segment now that we're done with the rapid fire to wrap up the episode. We have you heard of the show? I hope you have. Whose line is it, anyways? Where they guess, they do all the skits and stuff like that.
Sure. Drew Carey, right?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. So we created a little segment called "Whose Brand Is It Anyways?" because there's a couple massive hotel chains that have just so many brands underneath their name, whether it's Marriott, Hilton, Accor, you name it. They have so many brands. So we have a little segment we like to play where we're going to put a logo without its main company brand, and we're all going to guess one by one. No hands, no searching, anything else on Google, and we're gonna guess, and then whoever gets the closest, Justin, how about this? If you guess this right, I will send you our newest NFT for free with the hoodie. You won't even have to put. It'll be epic. All right, so here we go. Whose brand is it anyway?
If anyone, I'm terrible at this, Justin. I think in 10 weeks I've probably hit one.
Andaz. Hilton.
Right. That's your guess, Hilton.
Ross, your hands. Put your hands up.
I hate you.
Okay, and Golden.
I'm gonna go with Justin's from Chicago, and so is Hyatt. So I'm gonna go with Hyatt.
All right. Well, it's about damn time Michael Golden got one right, because that's actually so. Yeah, we'll give him a little bit of a.
This is gonna be a great week. I just can feel it already. Maybe I'll go to the lottery.
Perfect.
See what
Well,
happens.
Justin, just because you gave it a good shot and you jumped right in, I'll still send you an NFT. We'll get you all hooked up with all the swag. I'll even throw in a coffee mug. Give you the perfect.
Thank you, Will.
The best welcome from Good Morning Hospitality. It's awesome. Well, I would love to give any of our listeners one quick place that they can find you, learn more about who Justin is, maybe more about your venture fund, anything that you want to send them to. What's the number one link you want to give anybody listening today?
So my email and my website's just justin@inkwell-ventures.com. So there's not much on there, but I'm on there every day, checking my email. If anyone has any opportunities, good deals, allocations, NFTs I can buy, send me the links, spam me, whatever you got. Happy to look at a deck, and I'm just saying yes out here, right?
Just say yeah.
So
a founder's dream.
It's awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Justin, for joining us all the way from Miami, cold Miami today, and giving us a lot of insight. You covered a lot from Airbnb and your story and your journey, so we appreciate the exclusive features. And Brian should be very thankful that we didn't show the picture of him bodybuilding and all oiled up. We did find it on the back end, but can
we create an NFT from it?
I think we can.
yes.
Too good. But thank you so much. And everyone who's watched on the live, thank you for watching in. And then, of course, anyone listening on the audio side, we'll see you all again next week.